He owns and operates the Pack-A-Day podcast that airs 365 days a year with over 12 million views on YouTube. A new adventure begins. It's time for the Pack-A-Day radio show with Andy Herman on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and on the free Odyssey app.
Parsons coming and getting there. Micah Parsons sacks Jaden Daniels.
See him here. Good morning, Packers Nation. Happy Packers game day. Welcome into the Pack-A-Day radio show. My name is Andy Herman. We are live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Of course, super producer Tommy here in studio as always. Jamal Forest, 8:20 a.m. today. He is from Hogs Haven. He is going to help us break down Packers Commanders from a Commander's point of view. Excited to chat with him at around 8:20 a.m. today. Would also love for you to join the show. You can join us on the Nicolay Law Fan Talk and Text line 414-677-1250. Again, 414-677-1250. You can also hit us up over on YouTube and send your comments that way as well. Tommy, it is, in fact, Packers game day. How are you feeling, my friend?
It's weird, right? I mean, it just feels like it was so fast. The turnaround already, you can't even react to how awesome Green Bay looked in week one anymore because week two, all new storylines, all new meaning to the game, Andy.
Yeah, we love to overreact to week one. Everywhere, everyone, all at once to all of this stuff that's going on through 32 different teams, 16 different games. It's such a powder keg of information because we are just deprived of any real football for 7+ months. And then all at once we get a bunch of football in week one and we're like, this is everything. This is the only thing that matters and nothing else matters. There's no nuance to anything whatsoever. And so of course we overreact to everything. I think the fun thing about this game is that these are two teams that were playoff teams a year ago that both had very high expectations going into the season that lived up to those expectations in week one. Commanders easily took care of the Giants, as you would expect, and the Packers easily took care of the Lions, as maybe you would or wouldn't expect. But either way, I think that's what kind of makes this matchup really fun is you're about to tell, I mean, one of these teams coming out of this game is going to feel extremely good and extremely confident coming off a 2-0 start, and especially if it's Green Bay. It's one thing to beat the Giants. Yeah, I mean, that they're the Giants, right? But then, going to Green Bay and win there, if Washington does that, it's huge for them, no question. But if you start 2-0 against the Lions and the Commanders, two of the better teams from 2024, it would really feel like a rocket is strapped to the Packers. And I think we would really start gaining some confidence about their overall play and just where they stand in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Commanders got to feel the same way going up against Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
Well, like how that will jump their trajectory, of the season immensely too. Like I think that this is some big game for storylines, narratives, and really maybe favorites across the NFL. And it happens here on Thursday night in Lambeau.
Yeah, we also see Philly and KC later in the week, so that's going to be the NFC is going to, I think you're going to probably get your two favorites here. If Philly goes into KC, beats KC, and then if, whoever wins this game, it's going to feel like those are the two favorites in the NFC very early on. It doesn't matter, of course, in the scheme of things. There's a lot of football. We can let it decide on the field, but certainly going to feel great if Green Bay can pick up the win today. We're going to be going over, of course, kind of our keys to the game as well as the injury report. And I think that's probably the best place to start because there are a laundry list of injuries for Green Bay that they're going to have to navigate. Hopefully they don't have to navigate. There are plenty of questionables on the list that we just don't know which way it's going to go. But here is your injury report. We had two players listed as out. Bo Melton and Brenton Cox are both out for Green Bay. From a Bo Melton standpoint, hurts the depth in your secondary, and more importantly, is a true special teams ace who plays all versions of special teams: punt return, kick coverage, punt coverage. And that's a big loss on teams, no question about it. We'll talk about Zane Anderson in just a minute, who's questionable. If you could get Zane Anderson back, that would feel like at least you're getting a special teams ace back while you're losing one. But corner depth is definitely going to be a little bit of a question. And then for Brenton Cox, this one should be a little bit more manageable. You're going to have Rashawn Gary and LVN. Micah, of course, is going to play his helping of snaps. And then you also have still Kingsley and Igbari after that. And then Barron Sorrell has no injury designation going into this game. So my guess is we're just going to see rookie 4th round pick Barron Sorrell active instead of Brenton Cox. That should be a pretty like for like swap. In fact, Barron Sorrell, a much more valuable piece on special teams as well. So that actually might be a little bit of a overall win for Green Bay this week when it comes to what they actually need him to do out on the field. As far as the other ones, though, you have 5 players who are questionable for this game. Zane Anderson, we just mentioned, core piece on special teams. Would love to have him back, especially with Melton out. 2 offensive linemen. Those are the big ones. Aaron Banks and Zach Tom. There's a variety of different ways that this could go. If Aaron Banks is out, you expect Jordan Morgan to be at left guard. If Zach Tom is out, you would expect Darian Kennard to be at right tackle. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way. They did play a little bit of Anthony Belton at right tackle this past week as well with a little bit more preparation. Maybe they feel better with Belton. I think based on how Kennard played, I would expect it to be Kennard. If it's just Banks that's out, again, you have Zach Tom at right tackle then and Jordan Morgan at left guard. If it's just Zach Tom that's out, I think that's a little bit more interesting. Do you keep Banks at left guard? Do you then put, Sean Ryan still at right guard? And do you kick out Jordan Morgan to right tackle to get your best 5 out on the field? I think that would be an interesting aspect of this as well. Or do you just keep Morgan as a rotational piece and kick Kennard or keep Kennard at right tackle in that situation? So a lot to keep an eye on that offensive line. And then Micah Parsons, technically questionable. I don't think anyone is expecting him to actually not play in this game. And then the other big one is Nate Hobbs in the secondary. First of all, with Bo Melton being out, not that Bo Melton had a role on defense this past week, but you do have a corner out. You're hoping to get a corner in this case, with Nate Hobbs. The other piece here, of course, is that if Hobbs is able to play, you're able to get Javon Bullard off the field in some of those obvious passing situations and bring Nate Hobbs in, which gives you some real advantage. We saw in one of those plays last week, 3rd down situation, Green Bay goes man-to-man, and you get Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot matched up one-on-one against Javon Bullard. It's a mismatch. Amon-Ra wins it. They pick up a 1st down. In the scenario where that's Nate Hobbs, you definitely have a much better chance of maybe deflecting that, getting it in completion and getting off the field. So that would be a big win if they could get him back as well. But certainly some injuries to keep an eye on. The good news is that Matthew Golden, Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Barron Sorrell, Quay Walker, Daniel Whelan, and Dontavian Wicks are all good to go and have no injury designation. Thoughts on the injury report, Tommy?
My first thought was you were at camp most of the time. How much of that versatility and flexibility to move to any tackle or guard position did they showcase with Jordan Morgan? If the plan was to be, hey, Banks can play, but Tom can't, does Jordan Morgan have that capability to go to right tackle? Or is that why you think maybe they brought in a guy like Kennard because they didn't see that out of Jordan Morgan?
Yeah, the interesting thing is, when he came out, the expectation for Morgan was that he was going to have 4 position versatility. Which is kind of interesting because he literally only played 1 position in all of college. He played left tackle every snap in college. But the idea was he can play left tackle, left guard, and right tackle. Last year in mini camp, OTAs, etc., they tried him everywhere: left tackle, left guard, and right tackle. The only thing he didn't try was center. By the time the season came along and training camp came along, they limited him more in 2024 to right guard and left tackle because those felt like the 2 positions where he had the biggest chance to maybe actually come in and play or maybe supplant Rasheed Walker or Sean Ryan. This year in camp, all throughout, he really only focused on 3 positions: left tackle, left guard, and right guard. I do not recall him ever being out at right tackle. A piece of that may have been because they did draft Anthony Belton in the 2nd round and wanted to kind of get him some time at that right tackle position as well. But for the most part, at least as far as I can remember, it was right guard, and left tackle. And again, did not see him at right tackle. And then, of course, in this past game, when Zach Tom goes down, Aaron Banks was still healthy at that point. So they had the ability to put Jordan Morgan at right tackle. They could have gone with that lineup, and they did not. They put Darian Kennard in that spot. So my expectation going in is that is likely Darian Kennard's spot, unless they have a change in philosophy over the week or didn't like how Kennard played. It would, and I thought Kennard played well, by the way, at least well enough. I think that's probably Kennard if Tom is out.
Well, and those are the injuries that concern me the most, is the offensive line, because Jordan Love looked awesome when he had all day to throw, and the offensive line was just so much better than I could have ever even thought it was going to be. It looked elite, right? It was last year. The offensive line was, why are they making all these changes? The offensive line was fine, and Josh Myers only got $2 million, and what are we doing? You could have easily brought him back. And then you watch them against Detroit, and it was, oh, this could be one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, like that level of play. So 2 of them out in week 2 gives me a little bit of concern, even if the pass rush was maybe a little more feared, I think, from Detroit than it would be from Washington. I just think that the offensive line play was like seriously maybe the MVP of last week.
The only thing I would push back on, I would say the pass blocking was MVP. I thought the run blocking left some to be desired for Josh Jacobs. So I think that would probably be the one thing I would say, is that I do think there can be a better emphasis in the run blocking, aspect of the game. But from a pass pro standpoint, I mean, tell me, how many times did we see, Jordan drop back on a key third down, and he's just got all the time in the world in the pocket to just sit there and, knit a quilt and then still find a wide receiver down the field. So no, I thought in pass pro, they were fantastic. I mean, the good news is that, Jordan Morgan played in that game in general. They were rotating him in with Sean Ryan, and he looked like a starting offensive lineman. So the banks for Morgan one is not really one that I have any concern on whatsoever. The Zach Tom for Darian Kennard definitely is one that I feel a little bit more of like, all right, can they get through this? And again, I thought Kennard was a solid player in that game. There's still a difference between one of the best right tackles in football and a, solid-ish right tackle that you're subbing in for him. Dorrance Armstrong for the Commanders last week had 9 pressures in that game. I mean, he was absolutely on one. Now the Giants offensive line has their own brand of issues, so there's a little bit of a correlation there. But they got after Russell Wilson and the Giants last week. Deatrick Wise is nothing to sleep on either. He is questionable. I'm excited to ask Jamal about that going into this game of the expectation. My assumption is that he's going to play. Oh, they have Von Miller too coming off the bench. Like, that's one of those where like Von Miller's probably only going to play like 20 snaps in obvious pass rushing situations. That dude just still knows how to get after the quarterback. He may have lost a half step over the course of time. Father Time is still undefeated, but that's still a player that you can bet if Kennard is out there, he's going to get in some obvious pass rushing situations, helping to Von Miller. You would still love for Zach Tom to be out there.
Absolutely. And then on the other side of it too, Andy, I'm curious to see what's going on with Nate Hobbs, right? Because last week, the defense, the corners were, the all off season. That was the big question with Green Bay on the defensive side, it felt like. And then last week, the pass rush and the front 7 were so awesome that it really took a lot of pressure off of the cornerback room. And Nate Hobbs was the big addition, and they didn't even have him last week. So if he is good to go, if he is ready to play, what's his role look like in week 2, and where is he going to be on the field during that time as well?
Yeah, this would be my assumption if Hobbs plays in this game. I don't know for sure. Haven't seen it. Can't report on anything or whatever, but this would just be my guess. I think with bringing him, if he is active in this game, I think they'll bring him along slowly, meaning I don't think you just play him a full helping of snaps on this one, especially when you have a bye coming or a mini bye coming up, right? So what I would think would happen is that you still see the same general defense. In base defense, we saw, Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine at corner. And then we saw Xavier McKinney at safety. And then we saw at some point Evan Williams paired with him. We also saw Javon Bullard paired with him in base. I think it'll probably start Bullard again, but we'll see. Either way there, no Hobbs on the field. Then you have that kind of big nickel with Javon Bullard in the slot. I think that's still going to be their kind of primary nickel in this game, with Bullard in the slot, Nixon and Valentine on the outside, then with Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney at safety. But then when you get into the 3rd and 7 situations, obvious passing downs, or like at the end of the game against Detroit last week, when they had to continue to throw to get back into it, and Micah Parsons was out there almost every single play. Those obvious passing downs is, to me, where Bullard goes off the field. You get Nate Hobbs in the slot, Nixon and Valentine still on the outside, and Williams and McKinney at safety. That to me can be of huge value. Bullard is more than capable of playing in that spot as well as Valentine and Nixon on the outside in the majority of the time. But when you get to and again, we talked about that Amon-Ra St. Brown play, when it's 3rd and 8 and you've got a really good, like if McLaurin's lined up in the slot or Debo's lined up in the slot, you would much rather have Nate Hobbs there covering in that situation than Javon Bullard. If he can provide that will be of huge value for Green Bay.
Do you think they need to spy Jaden Daniels today? Like that's the approach they're going to take with either Quay or Cooper or whoever? Or do you think that they might test it out without one at first? Because Jared Goff is a terrible litmus test for mobility quarterback, obviously. But I mean, you saw how athletic and fast and agile everyone is in that front seven, it feels like, for Green Bay.
Yeah, first of all, you're listening to the Pack a Day radio show live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Again, we've got Jamal Forest of Hogs Haven coming up at 8:20 here in just a bit. But no, I think it's a really fun question. I love Jeff Hafley's answer to this when he was asked it at the presser the other day. Basically, he said they're going to do a variety of different things. Obviously, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, they're going to have solutions for it. But what I really loved about his answer is he said, we can't be afraid and we still have to come after him. We still have to be able to get after the quarterback. So many times we've seen defensive coordinators, and even Jeff Hafley, I think a little bit last year against Jalen Hurts in the opening week was an example of this. Just keep the quarterback in the pocket, keep the quarterback in the pocket. I think at some point in time that you're going to do some of that. There's no question about it. I mean, the thing with Daniels is he will, completely assassinate you from the pocket as well. Like he is a cold-blooded killer from the inside, and like he will get you down the field. He'll get you in the middle of it. Like he'll do everything he can to get to beat you with his arm as well. So that's the first thing you have to worry about. The second thing is that, you do have the ability to send some of your very fast guys, like whether it's Micah Parsons, LVN, Devontae Wyatt, all those guys, Rashawn Gary, after the quarterback, and still have players behind like Edgerrin Cooper and like Quay Walker who have the speed where if he escapes, you at least hopefully have some eyes on him. And the other thing too is that Green Bay plays a ton of zone defense. So eyes are usually on the quarterback. It's not like you're in constant man-to-man where your back is turned. And now if Daniels escaped, it's like, oh, he's going to go forever because nobody's keeping an eye on him if you're not spying him. I do think, again, they have the speed, the athleticism, the zone defense, the vision, and they can throw different things at him. Whereas at some point you're just kind of mush rushing and kind of keeping him in the pocket. Other times you're doing a quarterback spy. And in other times you're just saying, you know what? We're coming after him. If he escapes out of it, we'll tip our cap, but we've got to be aggressive with him as well. In general, I love the answer from Hafley of like, we can't just sit there and wait for something to happen. Like we've still got to be aggressive at getting after him.
No, and I think that would be the best approach for Green Bay based on 1 week of seeing this defense is that I think they do have the ability to get after him. I think Micah Parsons could have a moment where he, is athletic enough and in a better position to catch Jaden Daniels. I think Cooper can do that as well. I don't know if there's really anyone else on the defense that I feel very confident in when it comes to that, but I think they have the capabilities in obvious passing situations to limit a lot of scramblability based on their athleticism, Andy.
I do. I'm totally with you. And I think that's what's an interesting aspect of this matchup is that, Green Bay does have the speed on defense to kind of get after things and to just kind of trust what's happening up front. And I think you don't want just, Daniel sitting in the pocket and chilling and having the ability to beat you at all layers of the field and also like buy time. I think the big thing, and the Giants tried really hard. And I'll say this too. The Giants had Brian Burns and Abdul Carter right up front. So it's not like they were lacking in speed. And one of the things that they really tried with Jaden Daniels was like, hey, he can roll out or he might be able to buy time, but it has to be to his left. It has to be so that you can get him rolling left instead of going to his right. Because if he gets going to his right, he is just extremely dangerous in that situation. And here's the thing, despite having Brian Burns and they spied a ton with first round rookie Abdul Carter, despite all of that, Jaden Daniels still was able to rush 68 yards on 11 attempts. He still had 233 yards passing through the air, and he still was able to roll to his right. Like even as they were trying to prevent him from doing exactly that, he's still just fast and talented enough to get you to bite inside and then roll around you to the right. So who's ever playing the left side of that defensive line, whether it's Micah, whether it's Rashawn, whether it's LVN, or whether they have Edgerrin Cooper on the, kind of whatever it might be, it's just very paramount that you do not allow him. It's very similar. It's slightly different, but the similar philosophy where with Aaron Rodgers in his prime, where like Rodgers loved like getting the defensive end to like bite around, and then he dipped inside and then went to his right and then had the whole field at his disposal and then would just, absolutely, nuke everyone from all layers of the field. And that like teams finally said, like, if he escapes right, it's just over. It's done with. We can't let them do that. I think you have to have a similar philosophy against Jaden Daniels in this one. I
completely agree. And I think you'll probably see a lot more. Do you think that leads to more Micah on the left side or less Micah on the left side?
I would, if it's me, it's not me. Jeff Hafley is pretty good at his job. But if it's me, I want less Micah on that side, quite frankly, because I want Micah to be able to hunt.
Yeah.
Wherever I put my thing in this game is like, if Mike is on the field, wherever I'm putting him, I want him to be the designated guy of like, you don't have contained responsibilities. You don't have the pressure to stay in a specific spot. Like this is a game where I probably want to get him lined up, standing up over center a little bit more and maybe over defensive tackle. I want him put in positions where he does not have to be like, oh, if I get too far ahead, like he's going to scramble around me. Now, I would rather you have, the other defensive ends kind of keep that pocket and contain. If you need to spy an Edrin Cooper or Quay Walker, you can kind of do that as well. But as much as I can, I want Micah Parsons doing the hunting so that he has the ability to still get after the quarterback, who, by the way, 4.5 sacks of Jaden Daniels this past year for Micah Parsons. So he is well-versed, as we heard on that opening from courtesy of Fox, by the way. We did have that, heard one of those sacks. We're going to hear one a little bit later as well, but 4.5 sacks for Micah Parsons on Jaden Daniels. So I want him hunting as much as possible, Tommy.
I agree. I think the same. I think the same as you. I don't want him to have to worry about an over pursue of any sort. You put LVN, you put Rashawn Gary on that left side, hunker it down, let Micah cook.
Just a couple other quick thoughts on this one. 2 other keys for me. Josh Jacobs is if it's on defense, it's containing and making sure that Jaden Daniels isn't beating you in a variety of different ways. On the offensive side, Josh Jacobs has to get more going in this game. I don't think you're going to be able to live in those 3rd and long situations like they did against Detroit last week. I think they're going to have to be able to be a little bit more balanced, and you really want to get Josh Jacobs going so that that run game is as much of a weapon as the passing attack, and then set up some of your play action and deep shots off of that. But to me, Josh Jacobs has to have a much bigger impact. And by the way, not on Jacobs at all. I thought Josh Jacobs not only ran well this past week, but thought he pass protected really well. To me, you just got to open up a few more lanes and alleys for him so that you can take advantage of all that special talent with Josh Jacobs. So that to me is number one for the Packers offense. And then I'm just going to add to, I think special teams is going to play a big role in this one. We talked about Bo Melton not being out there. He's a big special teams loss, but Daniel Whelan kicked the crap out of the ball last week. Like just the change of possession. If you have it there, like his ability to switch the fields is very, very important. You trust the kicker in Brandon McManus. I think overall you're starting to trust the special teams a little bit more, but I do think that they're going to play a big role in this one as well. So special teams in general, Josh Jacobs on offense, containing Jaden Daniels on defense. Those are our keys to the game for this one. Of course, we're going to be talking to Jamal Forest coming up from Hogs Haven here in just a moment. Football Talk in the Fan is presented by Paramount Plus. You cannot count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday on CBS and Paramount Plus all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. We are 61 and cloudy in Milwaukee with a dense fog advisory. It's not just any fog, it's dense fog. High of 71, low of 58. We'll be right back with Jamal Forest. This is the Pack a Day Radio Show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Reminder that the Mason Crosby Show is coming up next from 9 to 11 right here on The Fan. Joining us now on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law, is Jamal Forest, Commanders analyst for Hogs Haven. You can find him on social media. Let Wall tell it. Jamal, great to have you on. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, fellas. Appreciate you inviting me on, Andy. And yeah, man, let's talk some about it.
Let's do it. I'm super excited for this one. I am sure you are as well. It feels like a heavyweight fight in the NFC. 1-0 Commanders, 1-0 Packers. Let me just start with the Commanders from week one. What were your impressions of Washington against New York, and how did you feel coming off of that game?
I actually came out pretty optimistic from the sense of, like, there was several question marks about two things, and more importantly, and it both dealt with the trenches on the offensive side and the defensive side of football. But defensively, when you're talking about the way in which Washington took over the line of scrimmage, like several different players, new additions, most importantly, Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Wise, and then obviously Dorrance Armstrong, who was a second-year guy. But like somebody, and Deron Payne, of course, but like some of these guys who are like brought in to make that impact, like really stood out against the Giants. Now, granted, they did miss two offensive linemen out there, and like it begs the question, like, how real was that performance? I'll acknowledge that, but when you're talking about going out there and actually dominating the game, in which people thought that the Giants could upset Washington because of certain aspects, right? And we'll get to that side on the offensive side, but the way in which they showed up, I think they had under 100 yards, I believe, going into the third quarter, or maybe like a little bit over 100 yards going into the third quarter, midway through the third quarter. Matter of fact, the Giants did. So it's the way in which they played and dominated that line of scrimmage was very impressive, because you're talking about a team last year who was undersized, but also wasn't really disciplined on the edges in terms of the run game. And like that was kind of a big focal point going into this season, is trying to get that size that you need to be able to win these matchups, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's controlling the double teams and things of that nature. So everything looked good. And I haven't even gotten to the secondary, right? Like the secondary was really on point in the way in which they controlled Malik Neighbors. He did have some plays here and there, like those one-on-one situations, but from a coverage standpoint, confusing Russell Wilson and really like clamping on the perimeter was impressive. And then offensively, like I said, the offensive line, the way in which you can control the line of scrimmage in that aspect, creating your gap scheme runs and creating those holes for Dale Merritt to run through Austin Eckler, it was pretty impressive, because you're talking about, again, a defensive line in New York who added Abdul Carter and already had like a strength that was their strength. So I just like the way that they were able to perform in a big spot for Washington, again, where they had question marks. And it really, when you're talking about 230 yards of rushing, obviously like 60 with Jaden Daniels on a few scrambles and a few design runs, but 230 yards rushing out the gate to start the season against a defensive line who was really touted as somebody who you should take serious, which they are some dogs. That was a really good start to the season for Washington.
Yeah, I think the run game is going to be a really interesting aspect. Green Bay held Detroit completely under wraps. You guys completely ran right through, New York. So which one of those wins that battle, I think, is going to have a huge impact in this game. And you mentioned that secondary. Yeah, sometimes when you get a corner at a trade deadline, it takes a little bit of an acclimation period, but felt like now with getting Marshawn Lattimore in for the full season, it feels like you're sort of reaping the benefits of that. And then Trey Amos kind of completes that group along with St. Ristel, who you had last year as well. So yeah, I thought they played much, much better, and it looked like more of a strength for that Washington team than it had been in the past. From the flip side, Jamal, as you obviously watched Green Bay throughout the week to get prepared for this game, and just I'm sure probably we're watching some of that Packers Commanders game as well, or sorry, Packers Lions game as well. What did you take away from a Packers side of things?
Yeah, like I mainly, it's hard not to just watch the defense. Like the way that you all, now granted, two things. I watched it when we did our post game recap. I was able to watch it like just from a side eye standpoint, but then I was able to watch a little bit more yesterday. And the way you all were able to, again, on that side, control the line of scrimmage, but also like the timing in which you sent these second level, third level blitzes, or just like shooting the gaps, coming through like untouched. I didn't even know the stat. I heard it, but I didn't know it when I was watching it back yesterday, that you all had, I think, 9 tackle for losses. And like the way that you all were able to win in big spots, I think was really big, and being opportunistic, something that Washington hopes to be. You all created turnovers, I think is very impressive. And I think that's kind of one thing that impresses me the most. Obviously the pass rush is one thing too. Like I don't know the names. I just watched the tape, but you had your three techniques winning, right? You had obviously Micah Parsons creating havoc. And I think again when you're talking about from a pressure standpoint, those blitzes here and there. I don't know if it was Detroit, like in terms of like the new center that they had, or like if it was just a first game thing, but it just seemed like they was completely unprepared, and y'all were very aware of like their new situation on that offensive line. Now, granted, they did have a guy on the right tackle that was going up against Micah Parsons. Like that is what it is, right? And Micah Parsons dominated that matchup in my opinion. But like that defense is the main thing that I watch, and I think is very impressive. Offensively, I honestly I feel like it's. I know y'all are dealing with some injuries on the offensive line right now going into the Washington game, but I think for the most part, like it's kind of the status quo for the Packers offense. You all added Matthew Golden in the offseason, but Josh Jacobs, he's a dog, and you know Jordan Love, I feel like against Detroit. Very solid game. And I just think, I don't know, you know better than me, but that run game was something where it's like, I know it's better than what the numbers produced. So like, I don't really take that first game as like what it's going to be moving forward. So that's kind of the one thing I see when I look at Detroit, the matchup against Detroit, where it's like, yeah, this is going to be another big test for Washington, because the Giants offensive line is not the Green Bay Packers offense. Like in itself, y'all have more weapons, more consistency. Y'all been together longer. That's what I meant. Like nothing has really changed. I still got the same receiver group, which is solid, but no true number one yet. But then you all have Josh Jacobs, who is that dog, and I think he's a really big piece for you all. So we're going to see. Like it's another huge step for Washington, but you all did a really good job out the gate, and I like what we're going to see on tonight.
Yeah, it like I said, it does feel like that heavyweight fight. It should be a fun one. Thursday Night Football primetime at Lambeau Field. We're being joined by Jamal Forest, Commanders analyst for Hogs Haven. You can find him on social media at Let 'Em All Tell It. All right, keys to the game. What are you going to be watching for early in this one that might give you a tip one way or the other of which way this game is trending?
Yeah. So for our side, I really do think it boils down to how they handle the pass rush. Now, if you look at the stats or like the advanced numbers, you'll know like Josh Connerly or even Brandon Coleman, who's our left guard, didn't give up that many pressures. Josh Connerly did give up a sack. That's our rookie right tackle now. He's transitioned over from left to right. He's our rookie right tackle from Oregon, and he did have like his moments against the Giants in terms of like giving up his pressures, looking kind of out of sorts, like a rookie, as he's supposed to, right? Especially when you go up against three really good rushers, edge rushers that the Giants had. They really didn't like have a thing of giving him help every single snap, every single drop back, right? It's like sometimes he was on an island and he had to deal with it. I'm fine with that. But you're going up against Micah Parsons and Rashad Gary this weekend, right? Or this week, excuse me. And like, this is a little bit different. I think that Micah Parsons alone is better than any rusher that the Giants had. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So you're talking about a situation where the circumstances have to change. The game plan has to be a little bit different going up against the Green Bay Packers. And when you're talking about Coleman, your second year player, first year left guard for Washington, he was their left tackle last year. And then you're talking about Josh Connerly Jr. on the right side. There is no doubt that Green Bay will have ideas of how to isolate those two in one-on-ones against y'all best pass rusher. And I think if the biggest key for me offensively is if you cannot establish a ground game, or if you cannot have time to drop back and find and have Jaden make his reads as a passer, it's going to be a long day defensively. I mean, it's all offensively for Washington, because you cannot get the offense moving. You cannot allow them to impact the game in that fashion, especially from quarter one to quarter four. Like, of course, they may have their wins, but is the ball out? Can you get the ball out before they get to the quarterback? That's the first thing. Second thing is for Washington, you got to create turnovers. That's a big deal for Washington dating back to last year. That's Dan Quinn's motto. That's Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator's motto. You have to create turnovers. And Washington struggled in that last year. I think they were bottom 12 in terms of defensive turnovers forced last year. And they didn't get one last week. They forced a fumble. Russell Wilson got it back. They had an interception, excuse me, but it was a penalty, a roughing the passer penalty on it. And I think that is one of the biggest things for Washington is being able to get extra opportunities for an offense who was actually inconsistent last week. Not you talking about 21-6. It could have been 35 or 42 if you're talking about 12 penalties for Washington. So I think creating turnovers defensively, being opportunistic is a big deal. Being able to actually give Jaden Daniels time offensively through your pass protection, but also being able to establish a ground game, get these guys off their marks in terms of rushing the passer, or keep them unbalanced, I think is a big deal for Washington. Those are the main two, but I can stop there.
No, I appreciate it. The funny thing is that Green Bay had basically the opposite turnover luck. Jordan Love threw an interception to Alex Anzalone, and he just dropped it. And then he threw another one that was a pick six that was called back due to penalty. So Green Bay could have had a couple of those turnovers. Got a little bit of turnover luck in those two. It sounds like you guys had the opposite situation from our standpoint. Hopefully that continues this week, and maybe you guys get your turnover luck a little bit later. But that will definitely be one of those keys to keep an eye on. We're being joined by Jamal Forest, Commanders analyst for Hog Haven. You can find him on social media at Let Mwal Tell It. All right. A couple things really quick before we get you out of here. The first one is there's two players on the injury report, Deatrick Wise, the defensive end, Tressway, the punter. Is there any concern over either players that expected that both of them are going to play?
So Deatrick Wise, I honestly think for both of them, there's no concern. I know for sure for Tressway, one of the beat reporters, they're pretty close with Tress, and he acknowledged that it's no big deal in terms of tonight he'll play. Now they did sign a punter; they added him to the practice squad.
Sure.
That happened after I heard that information, so who knows? But I mean, if it came from the horse's mouth, presumably Tressway saying that he's fine, I think it may just be a precautionary thing. But he should be good. Deatrick Wise. I don't see any indication that he won't play. There hasn't been any indication that he won't play. I think it's like similar to Jaden. Like Jaden is off the injury report yesterday, but I think he was on the initial injury report. Today's Thursday, so he was on the initial injury report on Tuesday with the wrist injury, but he was a full practice, so full go at practice. So I think Deatrick is fine too.
Yeah, it certainly seems like you guys have a little bit more injury health right now than Green Bay does. As Green Bay has a few of those players that are questionable that could have a big impact in this game. All right, last but not least, prediction time, Jamal. How are you feeling about this one? Obviously, from a Commander's point of view, you feeling good? You feeling nervous? And what's your final prediction for the game?
You know what's crazy, Andy? Like I think it's such for Washington fans. It's so crazy how Jaden Daniels has made like a huge difference for Washington and their ability to come into a game and like have that confidence. Like whether they win or lose is one thing, but it's hard to go into a game nowadays and like knowing what last year was, but also just knowing how they actually do play offensively. Like I think last week was a moment where they were inconsistent, but like this is like it's just a matter of time till everything starts clicking. And I don't think the opponent really matters for Washington, right? Just from their standpoint and how they think and things. So for Washington, I think they do come into Lambeau, and I think they get the win. I don't know about their defense just yet, but I also can see like last week being like from a physicality standpoint, something that they want to get into or get involved with every single week. So I say 27-20 Washington. I know listening or Green Bay fans listening obviously have a opposite opinion, and I'm fine with that. Andy shouted out my Twitter handle or X handle. Y'all know where to find me if we end up losing. But I do think Washington does get the win in Lambeau, 27-20.
We shall see. Should be a fun one. I know you're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy it. It should be a ton of fun, and we'll have to catch up after and see how things went in this one. And hopefully we can do this again. Packers, Commanders, come playoff time. Maybe an NFC Championship. You just never know with these two teams. Tell us where we can find all your amazing work and anything you want to plug on the way out.
Andy, I appreciate you inviting me on. This was fun, and hopefully, I know we tried to schedule Tuesday, but family matters. So hopefully, we can try and get you on down the road as well. Drop or Die podcast is the podcast that is hosted by Hogs Haven as well. So that's the one I host with the Commander side of things. You can find it on YouTube and all your podcast platforms, audio platforms. So I appreciate you again, Andy.
That sounds good. Good luck tonight to some extent, but I hope you enjoy the game, and we'll do it again soon.
Yes, sir. All right, boss man. Take care.
Appreciate it. Huge thanks to Jamal for joining us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Make sure to follow him on social media at Let Maul Tell It. It's the Pack-A-Day Radio Show. We got a lot more right after this. Welcome back to the Pack-A-Day Radio Show. A huge thank you to Jamal Forest for joining us this past segment. A reminder that the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis coming up next from 9 to 11. Huge guest coming up at 9:40 a.m. today. Chris Gizzy is going to be joining. If you remember, he was the one who held the American flag following 9/11 at Lambeau Field at that first game back. So a great interview again coming up today with Chris at 9:40 a.m. Also an important PSA for our listeners. The Pack-A-Day Radio Show is also a podcast. You can find us anytime on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. Catch the full episode, listen by individual hour, or jump straight to the highlights. Just open up your favorite podcast app, search Pack-A-Day Radio Show, hit the follow button so you get every minute of your show your way and on your time. Tommy, a good day to not have a leadoff show for a variety of reasons. One, it's Packers game day, so we get to focus on that. Number two, just need a little break, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And, we'll still have the Green Bay football post-game show. So right immediately after the last snap, game has ended. It'll be me and Sparky here getting you guys all caught up, everything Commanders and Packers post-game today. But, yeah, I get that too, Andy. And, when I heard that we're having Chris Gizzy on at 9:40, obviously today and the last 24 hours has just been all over the place, and very powerful stuff sports can do along the way as well with that, Andy.
It's in specific times like these where, I love what I do every single day, but I'm so thankful to be able to do what I do because we all need distractions, right? There needs to be stuff that takes us away sometimes. It's not that you necessarily want to ignore everything that's happening. Putting your head in the sand is not always the best idea either. But we all just need some levity from time to time. We need something to take the sting off of things to hopefully unite us a little bit more than where things are currently at in the current structure of the world and certainly in the United States. So I love being able to do what I do, to be able to be that distraction, to be able to talk Green Bay Packers, to talk about, special teams and, that what Brandon McManus, what we're going to miss from Bo Melton, and just dig in some of the minutia of stuff that in the scheme of things doesn't freaking matter at all. But in real life and as we go through day to day is a beautiful thing to just have as something that, we can have to take our eye off of some of the other stuff that's going on in the world. So very appreciative of him coming on today. I think that's going to be a great interview at 9:40, and just very happy that Tommy, you and I get to talk some Packers for an hour and not have to think about some of the stuff that's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's hard not to, right? It's hard not to think of some of that stuff, but I still am very excited to see the Green Bay Packers play football. I know there's a lot of other people who are still very excited to see the Green Bay Packers play football. So do our best to help you guys out to get to that point too.
Yeah, very much so. Lots to think about there, but hopefully we can all get better as a people and kind of continue to move in a better direction than certainly where things are headed right now. Let's talk about our predictions for this one. Before we do that, let's get our Potawatomi Sportsbook final thought of the day here.
You got to do some smart thinking.
It's time for Andy Herman's final thought of the day.
What are you thinking?
Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
What the hell were you thinking?
You're listening to the Pack-A-Day Radio Show on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan.
All right, Tommy, it is prediction time. As you're doing your post-game show today, what's going to lead off? Are you feeling a Packers win? Are you feeling a Commanders win? What are we going to be talking, or what are you and Sparky going to be talking about on that post-game show today?
Well, I hope we're talking about a Packers win, absolutely. But I do think that this is going to be, I have a lot more confidence than I did maybe a week ago with the Green Bay Packers. And not just for this game specifically, but the hopes and aspirations of the season. Our expectations have grown after just one game, which maybe that's not fair. Maybe I wasn't judging things correctly the first time around either. I think that personally, the Packers are in this one. They got it. I loved what I saw. If they play like they did against Detroit, I don't think Detroit's as bad as Green Bay made them look. I think Green Bay's a hell of a lot better than people expected them to be. And I'm predicting that we will see a Packer victory today against the Green Bay against the Washington Commanders.
If there is a team that beats the Packers, it usually is the Green Bay Packers.
Yep,
so you're not necessarily wrong in that regard in any way, shape, or form. So hopefully that's not what actually happens today. But I'm with you. I think this is a great time to have this game for Green Bay. First of all, you have it at Lambeau Field. You have all the energy and excitement that just took place a week ago against Detroit. This fan base is fired up and excited. I think that Thursday night football atmosphere against a big team, I think you're going to see a similar atmosphere today as you did in week one. I think it's going to have that big fight playoff sort of feel in this one. I know it's not opening week. Opening week always has a different feel. I think this one's going to have that feel as well. And I think, again, getting Washington on short rest, game 2, they're still acclimating to some of their new additions on the team. I think this is the time to get them. I think this is a great opportunity opportunity for the Packers to pick up a win and hopefully go to 2-0. My prediction for this one, I got 27-17 Green Bay in this one. I think it's going to be closer than that. So here's my late game prediction. It's 24-17 Green Bay with about 3 minutes left. Jaden Daniels has the ball and with the opportunity to go down and tie it, or I guess take the lead if they wanted to go for 2, but have the opportunity to go ball in that or down in that final drive. And I think Green Bay gets a turnover on that final drive. They try to run out the clock, but can't quite do it. Have to kick a field goal to make it 27-17. Washington ends up not scoring any points after that. So it's a closer game, basically a one-possession game the majority of the game, but a final turnover and a field goal leads to a 10-point victory for Green Bay. I'm feeling confident in this one, Tommy, and I hate feeling confident. I usually like feeling like there's no way they're going to win, so I can go in with house money. But I feel confident about this one.
Why not just ball out, right? I mean, why not believe? Why not? I said this all year with you guys with the Milwaukee Brewers. Like, just get your heart broken later. Like, go ahead, go into it with all the highest expectations that you want, and then react to it after. But the lead up to it and how you approach the game beforehand and feel about it, totally worth heartbreak in the end if it's just happiness for most of the time before that.
Per the Potawatomi Sportsbook, we have not seen a line change on this one as of yet. It has stayed pretty steady at Packers -3.5. So again, it seems like the powers that be feel like this is a very close matchup overall. Again, usually 3 points around there for the home field advantage. So this should be a fun one. I think this should be a close one again, even though I said 10 points at the end. Tommy, this is a really fun game. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be in that MVP conversation in his career before we know it. Maybe this year, if not this year, it's going to happen at some point. And I think the matchup here between Jordan and Jaden is one of the more fun ones that we're going to see this year.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love could elevate him into that conversation with a game today, right? With a victory today and a similar performance to last week. Like, Jordan Love absolutely puts his name in the conversation. By no means do I think it's in any favorites or even like him on the betting odds or whatever, but you'll have to take it seriously after a win today if that's what happens.
We are right now. Let's see where we got. Number 1, Josh Allen +300. Number 2, Lamar Jackson +380. Number 3 is Jaden Daniels +1,000. 4 is Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love at +1,100. So Jordan Love is tied with Patrick Mahomes for 4th in MVP odds right now, just slightly behind Jaden Daniels, and then Lamar and Josh Allen very much on top of that list at the moment. So 2 of the people that are in the top 4 in MVP odds going head to head in this game. That's pretty exciting. It's gonna be fun. All right, before we get out of here really quick, Tommy, give me an X factor for this game. Any player, Washington or Green Bay, that you're keeping an extra eye on?
Darian Kennard. I mean, if that is the case, like right tackle, just in general, I'm really, that is concerning if that offensive line is not at full strength to me, because when you saw it at full strength, you saw, oh, wow, they're going to be elite and better than everyone else and really give Jordan Love all the time in the world and the ability to be the playmaker that we know he can be. So I think that the offensive line, the right tackle, Darian Kennard, however specific you want me to get, that's where my brain goes.
On Sunday, we got to break in one new weapon in a big way in Micah Parsons. Matthew Golden, first 100-yard performance of his career. Weapon number 2 is going to show out tonight, and they're going to show exactly what Matthew Golden is capable of in this one. So I'm going Matthew Golden as my final X factor. All right, we are going to be back with Mason Crosby as we cross over to the Mason Crosby Show right after this.